Welcome to episode 12 of the Long Haul podcast. Another week goes by, and once again, I'm here. My name's Nine, and my co-host Carrie is here joining me as well as always. Hey, man.
Hey, what's up?
This week, we decided to do a bit of a roundtable discussion, and we gathered a few of our distinguished Discord members to talk about the Garfield interview. We thought about maybe doing it last week, but it's actually good that we let a couple of weeks go by to let everyone's thoughts settle and let the Reddit discussions die out. And we wanted to kind of go through what we talked about with Richard and Scaff, and discuss some of these topics. Joining me is Aquin. You guys let me know if I'm mispronouncing your nicknames.
Aquin.
Welcome, man.
Thank you.
Joining us as well is Joey D.
Hey, how you going, guys? Thanks for having me.
No worries. And the Worst Maker.
What's up?
Yo.
What's up?
This is quite interesting trying to gather everyone because we're all on different time zones.
9 a.m. here.
Yeah, it's almost my bedtime here.
I just woke up.
Oh, how lucky you.
This was an adventure.
I was just watching the Dota 2 major, so I just brewed up some coffee and headed towards the computer. So let's to kick things off. Let's start alphabetically. Aquin, do you have any general thoughts on the interview? What were your overall thoughts on what we heard and what Richard and Scaff said?
I think Richard and Scaff were pretty understanding of what happened to the game, or what is still happening to the game. I think there were a few things that made me very interested. I sort of highlighted them in bold. The biggest one being that they were able to see the ELO ratings of players.
I'm just gonna cut you off quickly to say you highlighted in bold in the Reddit topic that you created because you were obviously the guy that made one of the you made the too long didn't read post for most people that did not listen to the interview.
But yeah, the fact that they can see our ELO ratings and they didn't just publish them is really interesting to me. And I think it was because they were worried about discouraging new players. When they said during the first couple of weeks, we saw more than 1,000 point spread between players. That says to me that people like me who were practicing on the JavaScript artifact, or people who were playing on the tabletop simulator artifact, or people who were in the beta had a great advantage over other players because they understood the game. And I think if they had just let ELO ratings show, the reception may have been even worse because players would have joined up, realized they were really bad at the game, and just left.
You really feel like that way? Because I mean, if you play like, let's take for example Dota, that Nine was like spectating. You actually see your MMR and you see the other people MMR that you play against. And I've played Dota against people way better than me, and that didn't made me quit the game.
Yes, but there is a great expectation of when you first start playing Dota, you're going to be garbage. Like, that's how people introduce it to their friends, is that this is an insanely difficult game to learn, but once you understand it, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Definitely.
And with card games, I feel like there's much less of that expectation. People want to be able to pick up Hearthstone and become a legend within a month of starting the game. So they want to see themselves at a decently high tier just because they think they're that good.
Or they put money into it.
Yeah, put money.
But there's also the point that it's a being a card game and playing 1v1. In Dota 5v5, the system itself balances out the average MMR. And obviously in 1v1, you cannot really... Well, you can if the player base is big enough. You should be matching players of similar elo, but not necessarily.
And I think now Artifact definitely isn't nearly as much as Dota. I've heard quite a bit of discussion on it, but I personally have found that I still find Artifact matches much faster than Dota matches.
Oh yeah, that's also my experience. Playing mainly draft, that's also my experience.
You mean finding a match?
Yeah, finding a match seems to be quite fast. Yeah.
I've had that same experience myself as well. I mean, I'm finding draft matches pretty quickly. I'm not too sure what it's like in constructed.
I
but-
play almost entirely constructed, and still,
Okay.
I think 5 minutes is probably one of the longer times I've had to wait.
The longest I've ever had was like what, a minute at most,
Yeah.
and that was just like on its own. It wasn't like everything. It was just one time.
People are still like, I mean, there are a lot of Chinese players, and I don't know how the numbers in China show on Steam. I don't know if it has any effect there or whatnot, but people are thinking that there's only 100 players left, but that's just, I don't feel that's true. You can't find a match that quick at any time of the day. For me, it's under a minute, really.
Well, you're in the right hemisphere, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
every time I queue, I normally get like Chinese players or Russian players. That's mainly the two
Yeah.
type of players I get.
Yeah.
So going back to Akin's point, do you think that maybe if the game was free and maybe there was kind of an MMR reset at the beginning, that people would have felt better? I mean, let's say that they would have shown the MMR that it was public, and obviously on day one there would have been a reset, and the game was free to play. Do you feel that? How do you feel that players coming in would feel?
I think they would have needed to do a lot more explanation of this game is more challenging than your standard card game.
Right.
The fact that it is almost close to a real-time strategy game.
Mhm.
Explain that to people.
Yeah, Scaff and Garfield both, touched on that as well. I mean, I know 100% agree. When I'm playing Artifact, it's like I'm playing a strategy game. It doesn't feel like a regular card game. Play this on 1, play this on 2. There's a lot more thought that gets involved. And is that an issue with the game? Some people, and a lot of people, like strategy games and like that complex sort of game design, but it doesn't really cater for the casuals. And yeah, I think a game that doesn't cater for at least the middle ground, not so much the casuals, but the people that want to play the game and get better at it. If it doesn't sort of cater for them, then it's just a game for the pros, really.
And it's funny that, for example, Dota is a very, or me, I don't know anything about League. So if I watch League, I can watch it and have fun because at the end it's just a bunch of stuff blowing up and, little thingies dying. And also, if I watch StarCraft, I do play I used to play StarCraft, but I can watch StarCraft having no idea of what the meta or what's really going on, and I have fun because it's just a bunch of shit exploding. And I guess with card games, it's a bit harder. I wanted to ask Worst Maker, what did you think of the interview overall, and did you have any specific thoughts about what went down?
I mean, I thought the interview overall, like, there was a few questions that were missing in my opinion. Like, there was a video talking about RNG because that Reynad made a while back. I don't know if y'all saw it.
Yeah.
The where he was basically explaining the different kinds of RNG.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that video kind of basically explained why Artifact's RNG isn't really like the best. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't consider it the worst either.
Well, yeah, it really isn't the worst, but I mean, it's just one of those things to consider where coin flip RNG, given like where it benefits. I'm trying to remember what the exact words that he used, but it escapes.
Yeah, he basically said that the RNG is right there in front of your face and you can't miss it. The heroes deploying where the creeps are deploying, where the arrows are facing.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there in front of you, and that can irritate a lot of players that don't like RNG. Whereas RNG in other card games such as Hearthstone is a lot more just random bullshit that can either sway the game into your favor or into the opponents, but it's not as common. I think that's what he was sort of talking about. It's right there in front of you in Artifact.
Did anyone watch the Hearthstone Grand Championship, whatever, that happened a couple weeks ago?
Not this year.
I did.
No.
The final game in that was ridiculous, and decided completely by the one legendary card, Raza Fam or whatever his name is, that's replaced your deck in hand with legendary minions.
Wow.
So there's a story that came out on social media about a pro player that lost an important match, and he was, obviously some Blizzard devs are present, and the guy went there and he said, "Yeah, it's a shame. I really love the game, but it's a shame that the games ended up being decided on luck." And the dev's response was, "Well, better luck next time."
Typical Blizzard.
Oh shit.
So I think at the end, what it boils down to, in my perspective, is, and obviously what Worstmaker said is that a few questions were missing. Yes, totally. We were restricted on time, and I did not pose all the questions that I wanted. But I think what it boils down to a bit is the way that RNG is implemented in Hearthstone is kind of fun. It's just kind of silly thing for you to play while you're commuting to work, exploding and whatever. Whereas in Artifact, maybe it's more somber. It's more like an arrow pop though. It just feels a bit worse, kind of. It's not as fun, let's put it like that.
In Hearthstone, even your low rolls feel like high rolls because it's always stepping you up in the game. Even if your position has actually fallen back, your hand and deck is now legendaries. Oh, I could always have an out now. Or you can just watch all of these spells being played. And I mean, even if it pyroblasts your face 3 times and kills you, it doesn't feel like you just low rolled a card. It feels like, oh, that wild occurrence happened and it was still like fun because you got to see all of this random stuff happen.
So let's try to push back a bit from Hearthstone. Scaff kind of said that, replays were obviously missing, and this would have been important to help players see what went down and try to make them understand RNG better, as well as they kind of said that we did not put in enough work to explain to people how much skill there was in the game. How did you guys kind of interpret these words, and how does this make you feel?
I mean, I feel like skill actually was a pretty big point in this game. Like, you can argue that there were some matches where RNG like messed you up in the end, but it's not like every match was decided by RNG or the arrows or the crepes. Like, I've had when I was playing recently, it was, I'd say, 2 matches out of like the 10 that I played that really actually had RNG impact, like in the overall game.
I don't know if you guys know this. On the beta, you had replay, and when the game launched, they removed replay. I've seen a lot of people complaining that I lost because RNG, or if only this didn't happen at this last turn, I would have won. You guys feel like if replay was inside the game and we were like allowed to rewatch the game and see all the little mistakes or all the other RNG that happened to the other player, would make people less aggressive against RNG inside Artifact?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
No, I don't think so. I think, look, don't get me wrong, replays should have been there. Replays are a great tool, but they're only a great tool for pros and, as I mentioned before, the people in the middle that want to get better and want to learn the game. What's happened with Artifact, I believe, is it's catered for the pros a lot, and that could be a really good thing, but only for the pros. What happens then is you get a lot of the casuals complaining about the RNGs, complaining and blaming other things instead of themselves for all their losses. And what happens to the middle players is they give up because they feel they'll never be as good enough as the pros. So they won't play the game that they're not enjoying. Now, if the game is catered for the casuals, then the pros won't enjoy it because the game's just too random. There's different people winning each time, and the middle ground won't find it challenging enough to continue playing. So that's why I believe Artifact needs to be catered to the middle ground a little bit more, so that the pros can remain still the best at all times. The casuals will win enough to keep enjoying the game and keep playing, and the guys in the middle will continue playing because they feel like they're accomplishing something and learning the game and getting better with each game and utilizing things like replays.
Can I ask you, does that mean that you think the game mechanics need to change, or just the package around the game needs to change?
I believe. Look, Artifact wouldn't. Let's not lie. We're obviously the 1%ers because we're still playing the game. You and I, we both love the game of Artifact, but Valve didn't create the game for a handful of people. I think the game needs a little bit of tweaking, gameplay wise. Everything outside of the game obviously needs some work there. The things like the replays and monetization and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the gameplay is what's going to drag everyone back in. And if they just tweak a little things here and there, I think it will go a long way.
Don't you feel that can be accomplished with expansions?
Yes, I do. But the expansions, again, are only catering for the pros and the people that are still in the game. When you say expansions, you're basically talking about new cards that could possibly help.
Yeah, but the way I see it, cards can come out with mechanics. Let's say a hero comes out with a mechanic that says, I always have initiative in this lane, and that might be a card that is good for newer players who struggle to get initiative when they want, for example. Or you can have, I don't know, improvements. So there's a ton of ways that cards can push the game towards the less skilled player, kind of, without changing game mechanics.
There is, but I think at this point, releasing an expansion is not enough, and Valve obviously knows that because they're going back and they're reworking, and I hope they don't change too much. I really don't. I hope they stick to what they have right now, and a few minor tweaks could make it a lot better, along with an expansion.
Sure. How do you guys feel about this?
I wanted to touch on replays for a sec as well. I think replays would greatly influence casual players as well. When I play Dota and I finish a match and say, oh my god, that was some utter garbage. How did they even see me at that one point? I was invisible. I go back and watch the replay and see, oh, they had a support that was just running around blue warding their jungle the entire time. Like, you can see then that your opponent may have bested you in this one scenario, but it wasn't because they were playing better or anything. It was just because they happened to have that. Or you can go back in, I think, Artifact you'd see more often. You'd see them hold a card in the item shop for 3 turns before buying it, or hold a card in their hand when it looks like it's the right option to play because they know next turn they'll have a better opportunity.
Do you feel that the casual player will look for replays, though? Because I kind of feel that's like the 1% again.
I think so. I mean, I'm very much a casual Dota player, and I would still look for replays if it's that moment of anger that people have about the RNG, where right now they're just, the RNG lost me the game.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, I think a lot of them would go look back at the game to rewatch that moment of RNG, to say, oh, look at how definitely this moment of RNG. And then I think it's pretty obvious that it doesn't when you watch the replay.
Worst Maker, I know you normally you stream on Twitch and therefore your videos tend to be saved. Do you end up looking back at your videos and stuff to see where you messed up or something?
That was originally my intention when it came to streaming, because I kind of just streamed to sort of record the matches, and honestly, I've only gone back twice, maybe, to look at previous matches, because it's not like I go, because for the most part, I know what my mistakes were because I catch myself, but I feel like the streaming was basically just for that, and yeah, when I was streaming, it wasn't the biggest thing, that I went back to. So I wouldn't say going back and looking at your matches sort of helps everyone, because not everyone is going to look back at it, especially from a casual perspective.
But all you're seeing in your streamed replays is your perspective again. I've had pros come into the brainscans.net, watch it post stream because they want to see what their opponent was doing as well.
Yeah.
which is, I think, the biggest part of what replays could provide.
I was playing the ABL the other day, and they were streaming, and it's very, very interesting. I don't stream my own games, so I never go back. It was very interesting because there was a delay of 15 minutes when they streamed a couple of my games, and I thought, whoa, it's a it's a completely different perspective.
It's very different when you can see the other players' cards.
Yeah, and also to hear people comment on like, oh, you should do this, and it's like, oh, should I? I didn't even cross my mind.
Right.
Yeah, that actually happened a few times while streaming. You get some people telling you like, "Oh, yeah, you could do this," and just stuff you really didn't think of or really catch when looking at your hand. So it's one of those things that it's nice to have.
Indeed. So, do you feel as well that the game has to change mechanically, gameplay-wise, or how do you feel that the game has to, or how do you see the game progressing from here on?
I mean, like they said earlier, we're kind of the 1% here. Like, our opinions at this point don't really matter. I mean, they matter, but they don't really matter in the sense that they will help the game's future. Like,
Yeah.
initially, I believe that what killed the game was the fact that there was no trading system in place, like for cards. That was just my opinion. Like, in my opinion, what the biggest thing was. But I mean, obviously there was other stuff. So many people are pushing for free to play, which is, I can see that being a thing, but I don't know at this point. Like it's not up to us in the end.
It looks unavoidable, the free-to-play part. But you touched there on a point of other things playing a role in the failure of the game, such as review bombs. And obviously, people criticized the interview a lot because Richard and Scaff kind of dished a bit on the community for review bombing. And I don't know if you've seen it, but there was a post this week on the subreddit showing a recent review bombing of Rocket League.
Mm-hmm.
And comparing the graphs to the game of Artifact, and kind of suggesting that Artifact was not review bombed. How did you feel like when you saw reviews, and now that some time has passed, when Richard and Scaff say that, how does that make you feel? What was your reaction to that?
I feel like, okay, because I'll admit I saw some people in the comments post about how there was like actual people buying the game, making a bad review, and then refunding it. But I feel like those were just a very small minority, like a negligible amount. And a lot of the reviews just reflect what people thought the game at the time. Like, I'll admit my current review on the game is negative just because of the game's current state. I'm not gonna give the game a positive review just based on how the game overall has been, even though I love the gameplay itself.
I did the experience of going to the Dota reviews in November, and there's a bunch of negative reviews just because Artifact came out.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily a review bomb that a specific period of time has a massive amount of negative reviews, but more that the monetization model made a lot of Dota players very angry. If you go to the Dota Master Race subreddit, one of the things that they bring up, I mean, every second post, is the fact that Dota is completely free, while League has some paid aspects. And I think just the fact that Artifact was from the Dota 2 universe and had paid aspects made a lot of Dota players very, very angry.
I think Dota players are one of the most elitist communities in if you want to call it esports, but in gaming in general. I think I do think, I don't want to call it toxic, but rather elitist, and they just think they're up there on the pedestal. And I mean, I played Dota myself. Like, I think Dota does have the best model in existence. I don't doubt that. Like, I do believe that. But from there to shitting on everything else just because the game that you love is that way, that's not how the world works, man.
Yeah. I also don't think the review bomb comparison was very fair. They compared Rocket League to Artifact in the post that you were talking about. And if you line up the Rocket League review bombed reviews with the reviews when Rocket League first came out, it looks much more like the start of the Artifact graph.
Sure. How do you interpret that?
I think there was some. I mean, I still hesitate to call it review bombing, but some group mentality of negative reviews.
Yeah, I do also somehow. I don't have anything to base this on, but I feel also that before writing your own review, people will look at other reviews. So there is a kind of a domino effect or mob mentality, I do believe. So if there's a bunch of negative reviews at the top, I do believe that that probably influences someone else's review, or at least it might. That's something that I cannot prove, obviously, but I do feel like that a little bit.
I think Steam just needs to implement the a minimum sort of hours played before anyone is allowed to review something. I'm looking at some of the reviews now. That the most helpful review is from someone that hasn't even played 1 hour yet on Artifact.
Yeah,
He
I
says
mentioned that to Richard Garfield. Yeah.
And he wrote the credit card is the strongest card. That's it.
Well, he's not lying. It is the strongest card, but it doesn't apply correctly to the game.
I mean, given the game's model, yeah.
I mean, let's face it. The people cry for free to play. Let's look at, for example, Magic Arena. You get like starter decks, and it's free to play because you get that, and then you get to play and earn cards by playing or buying. If you play Hearthstone, it's free to play. You get like some cards to start with, and then you need to grind hours to get cards or pay. So even if Artifact was exactly the same thing, I don't think going free to play is what's going to be the answer for the game at the moment. And people keep asking for free to play without understanding that the free to play that they're asking compared to other games is not actually a solution, but just something that will change the monetization of the game to be exactly the same.
The thing that people are really asking for, though, is they're asking for all the cards to be free. If you know, that's.
Do you know any other game from digital trading cards that does that?
No, but I think they should.
I don't play enough. I don't play enough card games to really say.
Slay the Spire has that model, I believe. You just pay like a fee and you have all the cards.
That is not an online game, I think.
Yeah, that's a PvE.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's a card game.
The thing that I mainly kept seeing was the free to play being that the game gives you all the cards, and the revenue from the game would be earned from skins or something. I feel like you all touched on that with Garfield when you all were talking about a skinnerware. I think that's what you all called it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was. I mean, in my opinion, I feel like at this point that would kind of solve a few of the problems, but not fix the game completely.
The point is, there's no other competitive trading card game that I know that does that. Because if people get all the cards, I don't know. That's not a trading card game. I mean, that's just here, have all the cards you have and do all the decks you want, and there's no magic, there's no flair to that.
It's more like Dota.
Yeah, I feel like that. Yeah, it'd be more like Dota, in line with what people love and play Dota for. Honestly, like it'd be considered technically a deck building game at this point. I feel like it wouldn't necessarily kill draft either, because you'd still have that element of randomness where you'd get to play other opponents that are also playing with a random deck or from a random pool of cards.
Problem being that you cannot charge for draft, and then what happens is that people quit the queue and just wait until they get a completely busted deck, unless it's a tournament. They cannot do that.
That's what people do in the free to play, not free to play. How do you call that?
Phantom.
People are already doing that, though.
Yeah.
No, but not in the paid one. Do you think people are doing that in the paid? That's not my experience.
No. I don't think so.
And even in Phantom Draft, you still have like a 30-minute cooldown if you ditch the deck. If you don't at least play games.
Yeah, and that's fair. But at least making it like pay to play in the sense that you don't have to buy cards would kind of end this pay to win thing that people keep throwing at this. I don't understand it. I've never heard anyone say that Magic is pay to win or anything, but somehow that's something that keeps popping up in Artifact. Oh, have you ever bought an axe? Oh yeah, as if like I bought an axe, so I win more. That's not how it works, man.
I have heard pay to win describing Magic before, but almost exclusively coming from people who mostly play Dota. I think one option that they could do is make heroes completely free, and cards are, the main deck cards are traded on the Steam market, which I don't think people would be as pumped about, but I think it could get people more excited.
Yeah, I think launching the game without trading was in my view the number one failure of Valve, but who knows?
Yeah, that's
Tell me something. I don't remember if you can do this. Are you able to trade cards in Magic Online? Can you trade cards?
In Magic Online, yes. In Magic Arena, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
But online didn't last very well, did it? Didn't work.
But let's be real. Magic Online is a piece of software from the last millennia. Like it's a horrible piece. It's literally playable, but I was going to call it unplayable. But it's really garbage software. It has no place in computer gaming in 2019, really. And in fact, it's going to die soon. They don't want to say it. They don't want to admit it because people still play older formats such as Vintage and but almost no one plays Standard on Magic Online anymore. Arena will take over, and it has taken over, which is fine. It's a fun platform to play in, but you cannot tell me that it's cheaper than Artifact.
No, look, at the moment, Artifact is extremely cheap, obviously, but even before the game started dying off, I like the fact that you can buy what you want or what you need, rather than opening packs and grinding away.
For sure.
I hope they don't change that. I hope they keep that somehow. I don't know how it will work, but the fact that you can just buy what you want is actually pretty good. I mean, I come from a Hearthstone background, so I never really played any Magic, but yeah, Hearthstone's free to play, but you know how much money I've sunk into that game, and what did I get out of it? It's just dust. It's you open pack after pack, hoping for the card that you need, and even you disenchant the card, right? So like a legendary card will basically be worth peanuts after you've disenchanted it. So it's just, I don't like that sort of method. I think most of the complaints that were coming through were more about the ticket system, though, and I have a small complaint about that as well. I don't like the ticket system. I think if you're going to have that ticket system, the rewards need to be a lot better. And I think Garfield mentioned that as well.
Yeah, he wanted better rewards.
Yeah,
we don't know what that means, but yeah,
like at least one pack from one win.
I have not played enough of the prize play to really address this, but the little bit I have played, I'd say it doesn't feel any different than Standard Gauntlet.
No way. No, Standard is just as competitive.
Yeah, that's what I think is really the problem. There's no difference in feel. In Hearthstone, it's a completely different mode. That's the sort of ticketed system.
Is it really a problem, though? I mean, if the people are complaining about free-to-play, let me see Hearthstone or any other game allow you to play basically Arena for free.
Yeah.
That's what draft mode is. There is no other game that does that. You can hop on, apart from your $20 or $25, whatever you initially spent to buy the game, you cannot spend a single cent and play free draft for the rest of your life. And it's just as competitive as the ticketed or prized version.
But I mean, one thing you're also forgetting is that the only reason that exists was because of like public outcry. Like that was not in the original game.
It should have been released like that. I don't know why they didn't do that.
That's true. That's a major F up.
Yeah,
right there.
And the thing is that didn't they release it like within a day or two of release?
Yeah,
like
it was less than a week for sure.
The casual draft, it was like a click of a button. Oh, now there's a free draft, guys.
It always makes me wonder if they were if they really were caught by surprise by that, or if they were like, let's give it a try and see what happens, kind of thing. Because I don't know, this whole thing just feels like they were super naive. They just thought, "Oh, guys, okay, this is in the bag. Everyone loves the game, and we're missing a bunch of shit, but let's just release it because it's going to be awesome."
Well, I mean,
Yeah, they rushed.
yeah,
too
the
much.
beta was pretty much full of all pros and streamers, right? And I think I touched on this before. I mentioned the game is catered for the pros right now. So the feedback that they were getting, I know they were getting some negative feedback, but most of the pros were saying this is the best thing I've ever played, and this is amazing, and this and that, which is true for them, and it just created a lot of hype for everyone else, and they just didn't see it that way.
I don't feel that. Well, maybe at start, because tell me one pro that still plays.
Neyman from VP still plays, I have to say.
He's still signed
Yeah,
with
he
VP.
is. He's the only one. They kicked everyone else, but he's the sole. He's a remaining VP player, and I think one of the last few pros.
Okay.
I don't know if Swim is still getting paid, but yeah.
They're streamers too, most of these pros. Now, I guarantee you, if their numbers on Twitch were just as good as before Artifact or at the release of Artifact, they'd still be playing a game that they like.
For sure.
It's because their viewership died off. They were like, "Oh, I can't afford to keep playing Artifact. I need to go play something else."
It is very strange to see Hyped, for example, who just got signed to play Dota Auto Chess. It feels like having a dream job and having to switch to a shit job. I don't know. I mean, I hope he's happy, man. He was an awesome player, but I cannot see how I would be able to do that. Just have a game that I like and have to switch to something I hate. Feels bad.
But does he hate the game?
Well, I don't know, but it is a RNG fest. I don't know.
Yeah, that is true. People complain. That was I think there was a Reddit post about that some time ago, that people complain a lot about the RNG and Artifact, and then went to play Battle Chess and say it was the best thing ever when it's riddled with freaking RNG everywhere.
PvP spin tower defense. I mean,
it is fun RNG though. That's the thing. Is like this is such a difficult thing to define, but it is kind of fun RNG though, and I guess people just don't feel like the Artifact RNG is fun.
Auto chess feels a little bit of like gambling as well. Like, even if you're really far behind, you still think, "Oh, maybe the next turn I'll get the hero I need, and maybe the next turn," and there's still a chance you could win. Whereas in Artifact, a lot of the players might feel this is already lost, screw this.
That's exactly how that's you just described the turn in Artifact. Ooh, if I got Annihilation in the next turn, I might win. So that's just like that's the same situation.
Can I talk about the mayonnaise of Artifact?
Oh yes, please.
Improvements.
I need to embrace this.
Improvements are the mayonnaise of Artifact.
Oh yeah.
Like if you've ever tried to play Sir Action Slax's Room for Improvement deck,
the one that improvements.
Yeah, it's garbage. But you can run an all creep or an all spell deck totally fine.
Oh yeah.
It's just improvements. You need a little extra there.
This will haunt me all my life. Okay, what do you guys? Let's talk a little bit about a topic that we also dwelled a bit with Richard and Scaff, which was the balancing that also felt rushed. We already expressed our opinions. I feel sense a little bit of hatred every time I look back at the cards. I do feel that the stupid improvement cheating dev needed to be worked on, but like I talked with Mez last week, I really feel that when you turn an OP broken card into trash unplayable card, that's not balancing. That's laziness. I think all of you guys played the game at the time before the nerfs. What do you guys think about the nerfs that were done, or the balance thing that was done?
They need an ice frog.
They were not planning to need an ice frog though.
Yeah.
Who is going to be their ice frog?
I'll do it, but only if you twist my But in all seriousness, they do need someone, a master person, to look over the card balance and bring it to a cohesive balance. It felt like the balance of cards was too all over the place. I mean, it didn't really make sense, which
let's so here I have to say I have a pretty my stance here is pretty solid. I'm 100% sure, and Scaff admitted to having to that the change that occurs to
Jasper daggers.
Jasper daggers, yeah, that was taken from the next set, and this is a core set. I'm pretty sure a lot of these things, they've been playing with Axe and Cheating Death for 4 years or 3. Let's call it 3 years. Let's give it a bit of a whatever. I'm sure there would have been cards coming out to deal with these things. I cannot believe that something like that, if in Magic a set comes out with some card that needs to be banned because they missed it, it's completely understandable because they had 2-3 months to plan it, but they had fucking years to plan this release set. I cannot. It's for me. It's not believable that these problems did not have a solution coming out in the next expansion.
I agree with Nine. I think the changes. I mean, look, there's a difference between nerfing a card which is problematic and actually broken, and nerfing a card just for the sake of keeping the community happy. And I think Valve sort of panicked a little bit, and they were like, "Oh, we have to do something. We're losing numbers. Maybe this will help." I don't know if that sort of swayed their opinion or not, but yeah, expansions are around the corner. I mean, I'm sure they've even got the next expansion after that even planned out. So
how do you feel? Do you feel like the nerf buff system is the optimal system, or is the paper type banning system better?
No, I like don't get me wrong, I like the nerf buffing system. I just feel like it should be used and utilized only for cards which are absolutely broken, or buffing cards which are like see zero play whatsoever. That could, make the game feel a bit fresh a little bit, but changing things like what they did to Cheating Death and Dro, that was just a community outcry. And where's that community now?
Would you say those balances were like justified though? Because I mean, they were relatively broken cards.
I think they were way over nerfed. I think, as Kiri said, they really moved things around too much. If you look at, I'm going to keep bringing it back, Dota patch. A Dota patch, you'll see Puck's illusionary orb speed increase by 1. These tiny little changes every patch that together over a bunch of patches bring all of the cards, or in that case heroes, to somewhat equal footing.
He has a ton of data to work with, though, and that's something that the Valve clearly did not do with Artifact. Like, the nerfs came out, as Scaff said during the interview, during a major tournament, and I mean, how many tournaments had there been before previously? Not many.
You had like one.
The game was out for.
You had like one major tournament, which was like the WePlay one that had all the pro.
Well, there was a couple of draft tournaments, 10Ks, whatever. Then there was the WePlay, and that was basically the one big constructed tournament before the nerfs. So it's just, it's all very strange. They panicked, and they must have changed because the community wanted it, and they were looking at the numbers, and the game was dying. That's kind of what I think.
I feel the only decent balanced they did was Draw Silence. All the other cards, I mean, in my opinion, I don't feel Axe should have been touched, for example. I think they should have changed Cheating Death in a different way. And I think the only decent nerf or balance, whatever you want to call it, was like the Silence on Draw. I feel it's okay-ish now. It's not totally broken like it was.
I just want to add to this, because a lot of people are pushing for free-to-play. If it does go free-to-play, would you all think like these balance patches would be seen more often?
Yeah.
Just want to throw that one out there.
Yeah, I think they could. I think if they make it free-to-play, then they have the opportunity to really mess around with cards and do complete hero reworks if it's necessary, if they feel it is. But also just to feel okay increasing the damage of an item by 1 without worrying about, oh, what is this going to do to the market value?
And there's a lot of interesting things as well. As much as we discuss Drow and Axe and so on, OD got a buff, Bloodseeker got a buff, and those were the Ice Frog type things that they were minimal, and they did not impact much at all. And that's something that you can do continuously, obviously.
I think that's what they plan to do afterwards.
The fact that they buffed cards, I really like that. I don't think any other game, or no card game at least that I've played, buffs cards. They're like nerfing cards. But buffing, especially a card game like Artifact that has heroes involved, just making them a little stronger as well, just so they can see a little bit of gameplay, and making items that one little bit stronger, and can change the game quite a lot.
Yeah, and overall, the strategy of buffing regularly, even if it's tiny buffs, tends to feel better than nerfing.
Yeah, especially nerfing a card to death.
Yeah.
So before Artifact came out, I used to speak with some of my friends that play Magic, and it was always something that we said. It's like Artifact is going to compete with Magic, and it's going to be great because it was like there was this bad year that Magic had where a ton of cards were banned. It was like a year and a half ago or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, and we were discussing like when Artifact comes out, they're just going to be able to switch cards around. Like this doesn't happen because you Ice Frog it, and you nerf, you adjust. If the meta gets stale, you can introduce a bunch of you don't necessarily need an expansion. You can just introduce a bunch of changes. At the end, we don't even know how many expansions they plan to release. We don't know if they had a plan to release expansions every 3, every 4, every 6 months. We have no idea. And taking into account how fast Valve is, maybe they were planning to make one expansion every year.
Well, I remember they saying that they had like 2 expansions pretty much settled and done. Don't know how long they would take until launching it, but I know that they had like 2 expansions completely finished.
Didn't they say they had expansion 2 completely finished? Or like, set 2?
That is known that set 2 is done. Set 3, I'm not sure.
I'd have to fucking go back and search and dig where I found that.
Should they have just released that expansion? Like, I know that when they came out with the significant time, whatever it's called, post that they made, they said it would feel wrong to, bring out an expansion now. But what do you guys think?
I do not think with the current monetization model they can do that. With as few players as they have, cards are going to be quite expensive. And that's just going to make the community hate them more.
That makes sense.
The way I saw it was that... So I was expecting that they were already working on a patch, like on a big patch, since January. Basically, they came back from Christmas. The game was already dead. They made a couple of tiny patches, whatever. No one gave a crap. I thought they were working on the big patch since beginning of January. When this announcement came out and they wrote, now we're going to, look down and start programming on something new because we're going to change everything. This was in April, and I thought, I thought they were already working on this for 3 months, but apparently they just began. It was very strange for me, like I would have thought when the significant time announcement came out that by then they would have worked on missing features and they could just slap everything down in a couple of weeks or whatever.
Worst, what's your opinion on this one?
I was trying to find opinions from outside the Artifact community, and well, the thing that I got was just basically people expecting that the game was going to be bad from the start. That's just what I was reading from here.
Let me guess, Dota players.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. I don't know if you want to, I don't know if you want to take a small moment to read the thread that I just sent, but it's from the our Games subreddit. It's not from the Dota or Artifact or any Valve related subreddit. Yeah. That's...
Someone also posted the video of some Russian content creator that was in the beta, and he was saying that, he was basically saying the game was going to fail massively before it came out. But I guess there was 2 or 3 people saying that.
Even-
There's always
yeah.
the doomsayers.
Even Reynad, from Tempo Storm, had a video way earlier in the times that Artifact was in beta, I think, and he had the same opinion.
Yeah, I remember the video. He basically said that the game is fun and he overall liked the gameplay, but there was so many things that he didn't like. Like he brought up cheating death and stuff like that, and I think he brought up Dro also, but he brought up major points that were not really addressed when the game was released, and he said this is what the community is going to be upset about like after release, and he was right after that.
And I remember he spoke about so much stuff was going on in the 3 lanes that it was hard for you to keep up and understand where did you made a mistake so you can improve. And that's what in his opinion, would be something that would bring players back against the game.
So in this thread that you posted, Doors Maker, quite a few people say that they instantly stopped caring about the game when they learned that they had to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is just from the outside.
This is
what they thought.
I mean, on one hand, it's obvious that everyone has a different life experience, a different objective. Like everyone wants to take something different from the game. Like I want to learn the game deeply and understand it and compete. Other people just want to play it in the train when they go to work. That's completely fine.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's more the principle of the thing, that online multiplayer games should be free now, especially if it's announced by a game company like Valve, who just recently made CSGO free. That if it was Half-Life 3, sure, charge us $20 for it, but that's going to be a one-time fee because it's a single-player game. But if it's online multiplayer game that you're going to be consistently updating, it has to be free now.
Does it though? How do you feel when Garfield says that PUBG succeeded with a game fee, and it still is massively popular in Asia despite Fortnite taking over in the West?
But PUBG Mobile, which is free, is even more popular. Like, sure, PUBG, like some games are able to get a little bit of traction by being the innovative start of a game type. I mean, PUBG was one of the first battle royales to really be a battle royale. But as soon as a free-to-play version comes along, you're done.
Mm-hmm. I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate because I don't care to pay the $20, but I'm also happy if the game is free and more people can play it. I honestly don't care, as long as I don't have to grind for parallel economies, which is what annoys me in basically every other free game. I mean, I put a couple of $100 into Magic Arena when I was in the beta, and nowadays if I turn the game on and I look, oh damn, I need to grind 100 gems. It's like, I'm not doing this, and I just turn it off because I don't. My time is not worth it.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Richard or Scaff that said that, but I'm gonna quote him on. The PUBG example is kind of like oranges and apples, like they said, because you pay $20 or $30, whatever PUBG costed, and you had the game. That was the game. You had everything. Okay, you paid that. You had the game. You went online. You played it. That was it. You can't use the same for Artifact, because you pay the $20, you get like 3 boosters, 5 boosters, that starter deck that everyone gets, and then you'd had to buy cards. So you can't just use exactly PUBG as an example for PUBG was really good and it costed money, because it's not the same thing.
And it's the only online multiplayer game that I can think of that costs money. I mean,
Really?
even as any fee.
Overwatch.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, you're right. I forgot about that one.
That's $60.
And Heroes of New Earth before Dota coming out, but I guess that was a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and Han is not popular anymore.
It was so good.
Oh, but it was so good back in the days. Han was good.
The thing is, there's other multiplayer games that you pay, but once you pay, you have it all. Because Overwatch would sell you loot boxes, but it was cosmetics, and you weren't obliged to get them. And every time you leveled up, you'd get one, and that keeps the community happy because they feel like they paid once, they have the game, and they'll still get rewarded cosmetics for playing the game.
Not to mention constant updates and everything like that.
Yeah,
they're pretty good with
I guess what makes me happy. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I'm just reading through the Reddit post that Worst Maker put up, and I see that a lot of people are complaining not just about the monetization, but they're saying the gameplay is boring. And I sort of have a theory, and I stick by this, that if the game is good enough for a lot of people to like it, they will pay for it. Believe me. You'd be surprised how much money people would like to sink into games, as long as it's a good game that they like. And unfortunately, I still feel like the gameplay is has brought Artifact down. As much as we love it, again, we're just the 1%ers. A lot of other people don't like it.
On the other hand, I think if you would try to be optimistic, first of all, seeing so many posts about people who say, I'm not buying it because it costs $20, it's kind of a good sign, because if they do go free to play, which, I mean, it seems basically inevitable, that means that a lot of people will be interested in playing the game.
So it will create interest, yeah, definitely. I think they should at least provide some sort of trial period, and I believe they did until you open packs, but I think people got a bit pissed off that wasn't too obvious and whatnot, but maybe a trial would have been pretty good for that, I guess.
One of our earlier episodes, I think, I was talking with Nine about it during one of the episodes where I said, and I still think this way, if they allowed anyone to play the free modes, the ones that don't have tickets, the drafts, I'd bet a lot of people would play the game, try draft, play it some hours, and then pay for the game so they could play the rest.
I'm honestly surprised that wasn't the way they went from the start.
Yeah, I'm also surprised that they did not sell imp cosmetics. If not cards, at least imp cosmetics. They would have. I mean, people would have been happy to purchase that as well.
I would have been way happier to buy imp cosmetics than I was about buying a complete set.
Yeah, same. They look so. That's still my laptop background. The little imp. It was a Reddit wallpaper someone posted a while back. I thought it was adorable.
Best thing, yeah.
Have you seen the YouTube video of the guy that is looking into hidden files? Did you see that?
Tyler?
No.
Yeah, so I might link it afterwards. But there's basically some guy was looking into hidden files, and the imps used to have other models. The imps looked more like they look like devils. I don't know, man. But they had no skins, so you just see the models, and the models were quite different. In any case, just to say that imp cosmetics is something that also because during Christmas they put hats on the fucking imps. Just let me buy the hats.
That is why we can't be family friendly.
I'll put beeps over it.
Don't.
There's been a few already to slip up. I caught them.
Oh, we have them every episode.
Not every episode, but yeah, I'll start beeping them out.
I mean, it's the TF2 business model. It's the CSGO business model. It's the Dota 2 business model. Just sell us hats. I've dropped more money than I care to think about on Dota 2 hats. But if a second set came out right now, I would probably only buy the cards that I care about. I would not try to collect them all.
I think I bought half my Artifact collection off of a couple of Dota couriers.
Yeah, I bought my whole Artifact collection off Dota skins.
Yeah, I sold all my CS:GO skins for most of the ones that I didn't use for the cards.
I had to pay it with my credit card.
Yeah, I paid real money. Sorry. Big mistake.
All right, so let's say that Valve releases the game again. What structures do you want to see implemented to keep you coming back? Like, what keeps you coming back besides liking the game? What would you like to see?
I want MMR. I would love to see where I am because like the ranking, yeah, sure, I know I'm ranked 71 in constructed, but does that really mean anything? I could be like still in the bottom 40% and be ranked 71 right now. I don't know.
And that makes you frustrated, probably.
I mean, it's not like something that's making me stop playing the game, but it's just like, am I like, I feel good? Am I really that good? I want to know.
I just want better rewards, man. To be honest, I mean, you buy tickets, you spin the ticket. If you go like 5-0 or 5-1, I don't want to get like 2 tickets back and 1 booster. It just feels so. Compared to other card games, I feel they were really, really soft on that part.
I mean, okay, if they really did go the skin route, maybe like your first perfect run would give you like a special impact or something. That'd be pretty nice. Sort of like how Fortnite does it. That'd be pretty cool to see.
I don't play Fortnite. What does happen?
If you get your first win, you get like a special cosmetic, basically.
Mm.
It's like your reward for winning an entire match. That'd be cool to see, like for a perfect run or something like that.
Is it like a chicken dinner hat?
Yeah, yeah, basically.
I mean, right now the only rewards you have is like your user logo going up thingy.
Yeah.
And that takes ages, let me tell you. I think I'm gonna just ballpark it. I think I have around 450 hours of the game, and I'm user level like 40 or 42. But I mean, that's because I don't play as much Gauntlet since I started playing ABL, and the tournaments don't count for your account user level.
That is another bad thing.
Yeah, it is. It is understandable though, because it probably prevents exploiting though.
Depends.
Yeah, people will exploit it.
Should have a switch.
I really hope that I think everyone can agree, even the haters of the game, that the tournament mode is really cool. It's
not intuitive the first time you kind of
it's not perfect,
use it and stuff. It's not perfect, but it is great. Yeah,
but it's great that we can just set up our own tournaments as you go. It's just invite people. Like, yeah, it's hard to invite. I don't like how it uses the whole Steam and open up a whole new browser and all that stuff. But the tournament mode itself, I believe, should definitely stay and should even be reworked as well.
Yeah, that and introducing drafting against people instead of into a pool of
Yes.
thingy the way it is. Like I want to sit down with a bunch of friends and draft amongst ourselves and not against the community.
Mm-hmm.
That should definitely be implemented as well. I think that's also good for competitive, to be honest.
That's one of the major problems when you do like an ABL tournament, for example. When you play a tournament, I know that they explained that the boosters you get when you're drafting is from real players that drafted that booster before you. That it can be a player that drafted like in the first week compared to a booster that was drafted like last week. So when you're doing like an ABL tournament and you're drafting, I don't know if I'm drafting a booster that was drafted like months ago when the meta was completely different, and I get like really good cards now compared to something that would give me a booster where all the good cards were picked before.
Well, I don't know, but drafting against people like on a round table, you can counter pick stuff and you can interpret what they're picking, so it's a completely different dynamic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you do a tournament and there's like 32 people, the game should only consider fresh boosters, and the boosters that you get allowed to draft back would be the boosters that were drafted in that tournament. That would make much more interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to be the true round table pass to the person on your right drafting thing, but if it was just contained within the tournament, I could see it being a lot more strategy focused in the draft scenario. But then they need to let us spectate the draft before it ends.
That's actually a thing in Magic, like the actual trading card game, where you sort of counter draft other people because you know that they need a specific card because you know what they're drafting. Like, let's say someone's drafting like for red and black, and you happen to get a pack that has like a really good red and black draft card. So you start debating whether to take that card away from him or to help yourself in the deck. I've had that happen a few times.
Yeah, and it's a fun kind of a mechanic decision thing.
And not just that, you guys are thinking only about the counters. I mean, if you're getting past boosters from the left and you notice that there's no blue coming in the boosters, you're not going to start picking blue because you know that the guy on your left is going to take all the blue cards. And same when you on the right side, when you start getting boosters and you see there's no black coming, you know that blue on the left and black on the right, and you know how to play against that. You know how to draft or counter draft. When we're drafting in Artifact, there's nothing like that. You can be getting a booster that was drafted by a player on the first day of Artifact, or you can get a booster that was drafted yesterday by someone. And the cards that they picked like 4 months ago or now are completely different.
I wonder if they tested those things and just opted not to do it like that.
Well, I mean, speaking of tests, there was a point I wanted to go back to earlier that Garfield made. He said that regarding the RNG, like the arrows and the creeps, that they tested a lot of the stuff out already, and they realized that the way they implemented in the game was the best way they could come up with.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing to say. And also because a lot of people, for example, say the arrows should just go straight and so on. That would take a lot of strategic depth out of the game, I think. Too.
Yeah, then you just always go wide. Like,
what do you mean?
I mean, even now, wide decks win. Wide decks are easier to hit the tower, but if you're guaranteed to always go straight, you can just always go super wide. I mean, I guess it's easier to poke through then. Although not really, because cards like if you kill a creep in front of the hero that's blocking your hero before the action phase, that hero will hit the tower because he gets a straight arrow then. It's not like he can curve after the creep died.
Mm-hmm.
I think the game would definitely be less fun like that.
They had 4 years of experience. I mean, they had to test a lot of stuff.
They've tested everything.
Yeah, that's basically the whole point of what they were saying. Like they knew what they were doing is what they were saying. Like it's not like they weren't in there for 3 years just trying to come up with weird shit. But yeah, it was they tested stuff out is what he was trying to say.
Listening to the interview and thinking about all these things, how does that make you feel regarding Garfield and Scaff coming back for future sets or potential decisions?
I mean, Garfield came back for, I believe it was Dominaria in Magic, and that was arguably one of the best or one of the better Magic sets to come out. So I feel like it's not bad to include, like hit them or him in like sets in future sets, especially since that one was like a callback set to like previous Magic sets.
He goes back every couple of years to Magic, so he
Yeah.
does sets regularly. Yeah, that happens quite often, actually.
I think I would be totally okay with him coming back. I think Valve needs some time to make it into more of a Valve game first, and then he can come and make cards for it. But right now, it feels much more like a Magic game that Valve got some stuff in, but there are aspects of it that make me go, this is Magic the Gathering, and I stopped playing Magic for a reason.
Because it was expensive?
Because it was expensive, and there are certain things about card power that really made me not like Magic. That, the rare card in a pack is almost always going to be the strongest card, which, while not entirely true in Artifact, is true a good amount of the time. And it's still, I don't know, the card balance just makes me think more of Magic than of a Valve game. It doesn't feel like you're side grading. It feels like there are just straight upgrades in a lot of scenarios.
Is it fair for Garfield and Scaff to receive so much backlash from a lot of the community? I feel like it's a bit unfair to blame them. It's not like they own Valve. I'm not too sure if they sort of influenced any of Valve's decision or vice versa, but weren't they sort of just hired to design the game and the rules and some of the cards, and that's about it?
Well, Garfield came to Valve with some of the idea for it, but I was shocked when he left Valve, and there were so many comments. Thank God he's gone. We're maybe Artifact saved now, and I'm like, really? I think he did a great job. I mean, I do think he made a few little mistakes that if it was designed entirely by Valve, they wouldn't have made. But I also don't think Valve could have designed a game this good on their own.
But what I mean is, was it Garfield's decision on how the monetization of the game should be worked out, and about the tickets, replays, or like that sort of stuff is more Valve's decision, right? It's not Garfield's decision.
It sounded from the conversation like they always all discussed these things together. And obviously, Garfield and Scaff did not have the last say, but it sounded like it was fairly democratic, let's say.
I see.
Okay, so we got a lot of flack after the interview where we got told that we should have made different questions, we should have asked harder questions, etc., etc. I'm going to ask each of you. I'm going to start with Worst, then Joey, then Aquin. What question would you have asked that we didn't ask?
Honestly, the question that I'd mentioned earlier, the RNG one, the one where Reynad brought it up, like that would have really just been my question. Just, what would your response be to like the different types of RNG and the criticism that the game of Artifact received? I don't know what the response would be, but yeah, that's basically my question there.
Okay, fair enough. Joey?
I'm not sure if I would change much, to be honest. I mean, I think people need to understand that you guys and us were sort of interviewing Garfield as fans of the game. A lot of the people in Reddit are not fans of the game, so what were they sort of expecting us to ask, or you guys to ask?
Yeah, but there has to be something that you would like to know that we probably didn't ask, right?
Yeah, they probably just want questions like, why did you ruin Artifact? Stuff like that.
Yeah, right. It's just like, well, just because you have that opinion doesn't mean the rest of us do, But I mean, I may have asked, I don't know if they would have answered, but maybe more about the next expansion and how far of the future was planned for Artifact.
The thing is, they don't know because they're not there for like 3 months now.
They told us they don't know, yeah.
Right, but the expansion has been planned for much longer, much earlier than that.
You see, I think regarding the community, and we'll come back to Aquin, but I think people were expecting us to be more aggressive, and while planning the interview, my objective was always to try to place open questions and let them talk, and then try to progress to more closed questions. But it was never my intention to be aggressive or challenge them on why did this not happen? Why would you do this? That was never my intention. Rather, I wanted to understand what the thought process was, how they arrived at this point when the game comes out with a bunch of things that the community felt like they were wrong. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a game. This is not anyone's job or source of income or something that people depend on. It's a game, and you cannot kind of mistreat people or accuse people, or you should not make people feel bad about something. That is just a hobby or something that you do for fun. That's how I feel,
Okay, Aquin?
I would have liked to know what their favorite card that they designed was.
Oh, I can tell you which one is Richard's favorite.
Which one is it?
Enough Magic.
Did he design that?
It's
I don't know if he designed it, but there was an interview with Sir Action Slacks where he places that question, and his answer was Enough Magic.
Yeah, I mean, sure, they may have a favorite card in Artifact, but the one that they felt that like they did the best job designing the card of.
Oh, okay.
I guess if that may not really get a different answer, but it would still be interesting to know if if they had one that they just sat down after designing the card and went, "This is perfect. No one else is allowed to touch it. This is an amazing
I
card."
think I know the answer to that one. Target hero gets 2 attack this turn. Very unique.
Well, what I can tell you, a fun fact is that if you look at the Reddit survey that was done by Leaf Eater and Sir Tetris, the Dota community's favorite card was Enough Magic.
I believe that
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's funny that Garfield was so far away from the community, from the Dota community, first of all, in so many things, but then they both love the same card.
Love the same card.
Yeah. Also, one point that I have written down was the fact that they did not include the workshop, like, at all in this game.
Yeah.
Do y'all think there would have been like a whole different thing, where people made like different game modes, custom cards, stuff like that?
Aquin would love that.
I mean, yeah, I think that could have fueled the impats that I want so badly. Like,
I mean, let's be also a bit realistic. Do you guys remember when Dota came out? When Dota 2 came out? Were you guys playing it when the International 1 occurred?
I was.
Honestly, no.
Wasn't very great.
no.
I mean, how many people that were coming from Warcraft Dota looked at Dota 2 and said, "What the F? Like, this is not my game. It looks horrible. It it feels like this, it feels like that." There were like a third of the heroes only available. The game had bugs, etc., etc. It took years to implement workshop, to implement everything that we have now on Dota 2, and Garfield admitted to having planned the game for at least 10 years, or something like that. They said like that they were planning ahead. So, I mean, I definitely hope that when the game comes back, that those things are in the pipeline.
Yeah, I really just hope Valve listens, or I don't know. It's weird to be a fan of a company that just has their policy being silence.
Yeah.
I would also like to say something. The $1 million tournament, I think that was a mistake to announce it. I mean, even if the game went really well, I think there would be too many people trying to play the game just to get a piece of the $1 million.
I mean, I personally play. Yeah, like I wouldn't say like everyone came in knowing they were gonna get the $1 million, but I'd say it would have had some influence later if they announced it, like people trying to get in. But yeah, I don't think announcing it early was the right call.
I sort of feel like the problem is putting a date on it, because Valve is horrible with time. I mean, this is known, yeah. And to first of all, to put a date on release for Artifact, for then have the game coming out as it was bad. But they also said first quarter 2019, $1 million tournament, end of the year there will be mobile. And maybe, I mean, since they keep silence for so many things, maybe they should keep silence for these things as well, because it's just gonna...
Come on, is there any other better hype for a game than announcing a $1 million tournament?
Yeah, you're right there.
Just say you're gonna do it. Don't say it's first quarter 2019, because then,
They weren't expecting this.
no.
You can tell.
I feel like they honestly expected like a big game. I feel like Valve actually expected a Hearthstone killer or something to rival Hearthstone.
So let's say you guys could change anything in the game right now, and some of you kind of already answered it. If there was anything, a mechanic, a new expansion, MMR, whatever, if you could change something right now, what would you change?
I would remove black.
So
Like, redistribute it into red, strength, agility, and intelligence. Why is there this fourth color? Dota has never had it. Get rid of it.
So you would not add something, rather you would remove something.
Yeah.
But
That's awesome.
it's changing the game. It's I actually agree with that. I feel like the game is too far away from Dota to be called a Dota 2 card game, and I feel like that's the major concern regarding the gameplay of the actual game of Artifact. You don't feel connected to the heroes as much, and things just don't make sense like how they do in Dota. I think that instead of it, okay, hypothetically, if they removed the Dota IP from the game of Artifact, what about the game feels like Dota apart from the 3 lanes? Nothing.
Like a few of the heroes' abilities are, like Tidehunter's Ravage.
Right, but
if you remove the cosmetic of it, it would still be kind of similar to Ravage, but you wouldn't be able to identify it as Ravage.
As well as the items as well. Yeah.
And secret chat.
I feel like, yeah. So there isn't much though, but that's not really much to do with the gameplay itself. I feel like if they had it the other way around, where it was more like a Dota game but on a board with cards, then it might work in their favor a little bit. It'll still feel like a strategic game, and you can still run the strength, agility, and intel only, like how Aquin mentioned, but make it feel like you're in control of your heroes a bit more. I think that could go a long way. I don't think too much of the game needs to be changed, and I really hope Valve don't come back with a whole new, complete different version of Artifact that we're not going to recognize. But yeah, just giving more control to the heroes, that's what I would like to see.
And you, Worstmaker?
I mean, honestly, just the workshop. I'm not saying that would save the game, but I feel like there was so much the community could do with with all the stuff we currently have, which honestly isn't really that much. But yeah, there's like, just think of like someone creating a somewhat balanced 1v1 with one lane type stuff, custom cards that are like the stuff you see on our custom artifact. Shout out to that sub, by the way. Yeah. And just overall, like, giving the community some kind of control.
All right.
Aquin, I believe, is editing the JavaScript at the moment, and just mucking around and playing with it. Is that something like the workshop that you were hoping for, that Worstmaker is talking about?
I mean, yeah, it's black will be removed. I'll tell you that much. It's starting to come together. It's probably going to be a bit more time, but I'd say shorter than a significant amount of time. So hopefully we'll have Artifact 2 before the real Artifact 2 actually launches. But there will definitely be a Reddit post about it when it does happen.
Looking forward to it. That'll be cool.
Sweet. I wanted to bring that up, but you did it for me. Thanks for segueing.
Oh, sorry, man.
I wanted to thank all of you for joining us today. We're going to cut the cast here because otherwise it will be too long. But it's really great to speak with you guys and talk about the game that we love. Wanted to give each of you the opportunity to, introduce yourselves shortly and, give some props to anyone you want, or plug yourselves in if you want.
I'll start then. I'm Aquin. Freelance artifact caster. So anyone looking for casting of their tournament, please hit me up at Aquin Artifact on Twitter.
Sweet.
I'd like to just have a little bit of a small shout out here to you guys, Nine and Kerry. Thanks for the hard work and effort you guys put in every week. I know it's hard with the lack of content that Artifact is giving us at the moment, but 10 episodes in and you guys got Garfield, so that's pretty fucking huge, man. That's really good. So I think no one will sort of blame you guys if you take a week or two off. But thanks for providing this small amount to us, and yeah, man, we're in it for the long haul.
Thanks for being with us.
Just shout out to basically everyone that's still sticking with the game. I mean, I know personally I'm not too into it as much as I used to be, but yeah, it's still great to know that there's other people playing the game. I mean, I'm on Twitch. I mean, I don't really stream often, but I'm there sometimes on the Worst Maker, and I'm on Twitter at the Worst Maker also. So if y'all want to follow or anything there.
I wanted to let everyone know that the future is quite uncertain for the Artifact Bitcoin League as well. We don't know exactly what's going on, but Opsy, the founder and the director, basically has posted to the admins that the ABL might be shutting down. There will be an announcement in the next few days, so I don't know any more than that. As well as every week, I feel bad about forgetting this, but every Monday there's a constructed tournament. Matt's mentioned it last week, and I feel bad about not being able to remember this every week. So guys, join us every Monday for constructed tournaments. And yeah, as always, guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. Follow and review us on all major podcast platforms, be it iTunes, Spotify, whatever, YouTube. Follow me at 9armada, at Carrigor on Twitter if you want. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll be with you again next week.
Yeah, see you guys next week.